Good morning, everyone. I hope that all is well. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm so grateful that you are here with us. This morning, we're going to talk about some things that will build on to last week's session. I am Vernessa Cole, a leadership development coach, and I help leaders build teams that don't depend on them for everything. Last week, we talked about something many leaders don't realize right away. Sometimes the issue isn't the people, is that you've become the system. Everything keeps routing back to you, whether it be decisions, approvals, directions, problem solving, they all come back to you. And over time, leadership slows down because everything still depends on one person. And with that, I gave you the ownership clarity filter to work through. Who owns it? What can they decide? And when do they escalate it? So today, I want to move us to the next step. How can you or how do you build leadership that keeps moving beyond you? When you look at the life of Jesus, you see that Jesus ministered to crowds, many people, but he intentionally developed disciples. We also see that he didn't just give them information, he gave them responsibility. That's going to be very important that we're just not driving communication, we're giving responsibility. That's how we're building leadership. So he didn't just send them out, right? He sent them out, he let them practice, he allowed them to operate without him standing beside them every moment. And we as leaders need to understand that it's important for us to give the assignment and give it with clarity. Now, why is it important that he wasn't there? Because Jesus never intended for the mission to stop with him physically being present. He wasn't going to be present all the time. So, therefore, he had to ensure that there were those that he taught to move this mission forward without him. In other words, Jesus didn't build followers who can only function beside him. He developed people who could continue the work beyond him. He built people who could carry it forward. And that's the shift many leaders have to make from being the center of everything to building people and systems that can continue the work. This is where leadership gets uncomfortable because staying involved feels safer, right? We want to be a part of everything. We think it's just easier if we did it, that we could fix it quicker, and that we need to make sure that it gets done right. But see, over time, if you continue to do that, that constant involvement creates dependency, and dependency slows momentum. Here's what healthy multiplication actually looks like. A leader steps away from a meeting and it still runs well. A decision gets made without waiting 3 days for approval. A problem gets solved because people know what they own. And that's not a loss of control, that's leadership maturity. Because leadership multiplies when clarity is strong enough for movement to continue without constant oversight. So here's your practical next step. And I call this the move without me test. Can they move without me? I want you to go ahead and pick one responsibility that you're still heavily involved in and ask these three questions. One responsibility, let me give you a moment to think about what that responsibility is. Okay, now that we know what the responsibility is, the first question is, if I stepped away, would that stop? Would it stop? If I stepped away, would it stop? What is that responsibility that would stop if you stepped away? Now, your second question is, what clarity is missing? Now, here's why that's important. Last week, We did ownership clarity filter, and we said who owns what and what exactly do they own, right? We went to the point of driving it through. What exactly do they own? What can they decide? And then when do they need to escalate? So that clarity needs to be made. And then the third question is, what system, rhythm, or ownership needs to be established so that this can move without you? Because we don't want to keep operating in the same manner just because we've always done it. Excuse me for that. Because we've always done it that way. We're trying to grow. And in order for us to grow, we have to put in the practices that will allow us to grow and allow the leadership to move beyond us. So, what system or rhythm or even the ownership needs to be established so that this can move without you? What do you need to put in place? That's how leadership stops managing dependency and starts building sustainability. So you move from them depending on you, from you having to hand out every assignment at every point, to where it can move without you being present, and they have the next steps that needs to happen. I'll let you finish writing those down. Now, let me say this, that you don't have to carry everything to lead well. Some of the strongest leadership happens when you've built systems that continues to move without you. Even when you're not holding every part together, it can move. That's the strongest system. And if you're in a season where leadership feels heavier than it should, like where everything keeps depending on you and you're trying to figure it out, how to lead well without carrying it all alone, I want you to know that there's a healthier way forward. Through coaching, workshops, and even practical leadership tools, I help leaders build this clarity. I help them structure, and I provide sustainable growth that doesn't rest on one person. Go ahead and visit my website, thewayleadership.com, because you don't have to keep figuring things out by yourself. I'm here to help you build leadership that can breathe, grow, and move forward with strength. Because if everything flows through you, growth will always flow to you. You showed up. You learned. Now go lead like you mean it. Teach it, coach it, release it. I'm Vernessa Cole, and we don't just grow leaders here, we multiply them.